I'm Harry VanRiper, and I served in the 25th Infantry Division, the 5th Infantry Unit in Vietnam in 1968. I was drafted in 1967, October of 67, and went through basic training and AIT, and then I shipped out to Fort Lewis, Washington, and we boarded a plane, flew to Japan, and then we flew into Vietnam. Kind of became very real when we were flying around about to land, and you could see tracers flying around. And you thought, well, wait a minute, this is for real. Yeah, no concept of what's going on until you started seeing tracers flying, and it's a real deal. A lot of the war, we have a chronicle on our website, and a lot of the things that happened, I think I kind of blocked out, because they have a chronology of what happened day in and day out and what kind of firefights and things that we went through. And as I go through it, I can remember some of it, bits and pieces, but a lot of it I can't remember. I guess you do that to protect yourself. The most vivid things are the action that I was, hit in ultimately. The first day of that operation that we got the Presidential Unit Citation for, we were in a 4.5-hour firefight. And they had to resupply us by air. We have tracks. We can carry a lot of ammunition. We were running out of ammunition. Machine gun barrels were bending because they got too hot. That day we lost about 9 people. I can't remember how many wounded. But we went back into base camp that night. And the next day we went out, same area. And we were on they call them search and destroy missions. And we were sweeping. Now I'm driving a track and the guys are in front of the track as you're going on the sweep. Well, we had stood down on a break, and there was a row of elephant grass in front of us about maybe 60 yards from us. And we were sitting there and they were in there while we were on break aiming everything. And as soon as we got the signal to take off, all heck broke loose. I never saw so many RPGs in my life, rocket-propelled grenades. They were bouncing everywhere. And I looked in my periscopes and everybody was backing up, and I reached for the gear and I looked down and all the guys were pinned down. For some reason, I couldn't back up. Couldn't back up. I sat there. I knew that I felt if I backed up, they'd get run over. And not that long after that, I got hit with a rocket. RPGs go right through those tanks. Actually, they only stop small arms. 50 caliber will go through those APCs. So the rocket came through this way, took off my arm, a good bit of my leg, and had my hand not been up there, I would have lost my other arm. I figured that out before talking about this at the Veterans Panel at Community College in 2010. Woke up in the middle of the morning and thought, wow, if I hadn't put my hand up there, I'd have lost that one too. I can remember knowing I had to get out of that track because I was going to bleed to death in there. And somehow with one arm, I got out of the track and I tried to stand up. My eyes were blistered shut, and so I couldn't see anything. But I tried to stand up. My leg was pretty shot up, and I didn't know it. And so when I tried to stand, I fell off and hit the ground and started flopping like a fish. I guess my nervous system went berserk. And then I stopped and said, I'm going to bleed to death. So I grabbed my shoulder and held my shoulder. And I don't know how long I laid there, but my friend Robert Logan came up, and then medics, and they drugged me back to the medic track. I sat there. Those guys saved my life. They tried to put blood in my arm, and my veins were all collapsed, so they had to cut me at the ankle. And I was conscious almost the whole time. My friend Roberto Garcia held me. I now found out last summer at my 5th Infantry reunion that he was holding me down because the firefight was still going on. My platoon leader, I can remember him hollering out, "If you don't land that damn chopper, I'm going to shoot you down." Because they didn't want to land because it was so hot. But they did bring it down. They got me out of there. I can remember the flight. I blacked in and out, but I can remember them putting me on the operating table. 12 days later, I woke up at a 15% chance of living after they operated on me, and I pulled through. Actually, I woke up, they hit an ammo dump right by the hospital, and I got up and started trying to run. I pulled all my tubes out and all that kind of stuff, but that was pretty much, what happened. That day we lost, in my company, just my company, we lost 9 men and 43 were wounded. I was one of 43 wounded. I was very, very relieved to be alive. The driver before me lost 3 limbs to an RPG, same as me. And I remember thinking that if that happened to me, I'd rather be dead. And after going through it, I was just like really, really happy to be alive. The psychologist at the hospital wanted me to do an autobiography. She said, "You're supposed to be depressed." I said, "I'm alive." Was I frustrated here and there? Sure. I had to learn to do a lot of stuff over with, like, not try to catch a door with my left hand. You could get smacked with it, things like that. But I had to learn to do everything differently. And that turned out to be like a major, major asset, because all through schooling, whenever I did anything, I had to think about how to do it differently. So to this day, it's kind of automatic now, but before I do something, I'm very, very thorough about preparation to do something. I went through labs in graduate school that took some people 2 hours behind. I was half an hour behind. The closest person with 2 hands was 2 hours behind, because I was that well prepared. So it's been a real asset. Made me strong. The old saying, that doesn't kill you makes you stronger, that's pretty accurate. I always wanted to get into biology, so I went back and became a physiologist. I went through undergraduate and graduate school at Duquesne University. And I was offered, when I defended my thesis and presented my paper at the Federation of American Biology, Experimental Biology, I was offered a free ride at University of Buffalo Medical School. Guy came and sought me out after I did my paper. And I was going to do that. And I fell into a teaching position at CCAC by accident. A friend of mine worked there already that I went through school with, and he said they were in a bind. Some guy quit in the middle of the semester, and could I help him out? And I fell in love with teaching. And I've been there ever since. So I dearly love teaching to this day. I could retire, but it's going on 65 next month. But I dearly love teaching. It's just, the Lord's been good to me. He's been really good to me. He gave me something that I truly love, and I've impacted a lot of people that way too. Kids know my priorities: God, people, and that's major things. Learning, major things that are important to me in life. Well, at this point in life, like I said, I have no regrets. I feel like I've had a full life. There's only a third of us left. Agent Orange. The war ended in 1975. There's a third of us left. I found that astounding. But I'm very, very happy with my teaching career. I dearly love it. Very involved in church. I'm in the choir. But they have an organization that that started in our church. It's an outreach now called the Sentinels of Freedom. And what we do is we give scholarships to post 9/11 veterans that have been, wounded in war. Usually our criteria is about 70% disabled or higher. We don't do something for multitudes. We try to pick up 1 or 2 and help them out in a big way. Every time I meet one of these guys, we just have a special bond. The other veterans there. I have a running joke with our team leader. He said he got a handshake. I always get a hug. There's just just a special bond between combat veterans. But that's one of the more rewarding things I've ever done in my life. Try not to get choked up. It's really good organization. Well, I have to say that I was a bit of a hellraiser. My stepfather was an alcoholic, and it's called dysfunctional family. And some people rebel. I was the rebellious one. I rolled a car 5 times in my senior year. Got in a lot of fights. On and on. Back in those days, boys would be boys. Nowadays, I'd probably be in jail for the things we did. But I have to say the Army was good for me. I went in with a bad attitude, and I looked around and I saw a drill sergeant telling this kid that, "You've been hustling, I'm going to make you a squad leader." And he said, "You're not going to have to pull guard duty or KP or any of that stuff." So I sat there and thought, I started hustling. I was a squad leader all through training. I turned 180 degrees. The Army was very good for me. The discipline. I think a lot of kids nowadays could use some more discipline. I know it didn't hurt me. I know it helped me tremendously. I don't know where I would have gone had I not been drafted. Maybe it might not have been such a good outcome, if it is a good outcome for whatever reason. Army was good for me. I loved my country. I wouldn't change any of it. I wouldn't change a thing. I wouldn't be who I am. I don't know who I'd be, but I like who I am. I like where I'm at. I'm very happy with my job. I can't change anything. I wouldn't go back and change anything.